My name is Deepak Vagala. I'm Roshni Vagala's father.
Which part of Zambia did you live in?
I lived in a town called Livingstone. Livingstone was the state capital until 1964, when Zambia got its independence. After that period, the capital was moved to Lusaka.
For how long did you live there for?
I was there until 1972. I left Livingstone when I was 12 years and just under 7 months to come to London, and the reason for coming to London was for educational reasons.
How did you feel when you moved to London?
When I first landed in London on a cold morning, I found the city overwhelming. I was a young boy of 12 years, having left a very small town, and London just felt very, very big.
What was Livingstone like when you were a child?
When I was growing up, Livingstone was a small community. The local Asian population was about 400 people, and everybody knew everybody. And the local population was about another 10,000 on top.
What do you miss the most?
Even now, 43 years into this country, the one thing I miss most is the weather.
How did you feel when you went back in 2012?
It was an interesting experience because this was the first time I went back with my daughter Roshni, and I showed her Livingstone almost as if it was the first time for me also. The hospital where I was born, the first school I went to, our house, which is now sold, and most importantly, the Victoria Falls.
And how has it changed?
The town has changed immeasurably in the last 43 years. It has grown. It is now quite a big town. The population has grown, and there is a lot of development.
What was the most popular wildlife?
When I was growing up, I was very lucky in that I had saw all the major wildlife, from rhinos, the big cats, elephants, different types of deer, such as kudu, antelopes, sables, eland, giraffes, different species of snakes.
And has that wildlife changed?
Yes, sadly it has. The local rhino population has been killed off by poachers. The elephant population has also gone down. The big cats are not as plentiful as they were when I was growing up.
And what about elephants? How has that increased in size though?
The elephant population has increased after the war after the rebel war in Zimbabwe came to an end in 1980, when Zimbabwe got its independence. The elephant population has grown. But one thing that has happened since the time I was growing up to now is that people are now more aware of conservation and the importance of preserving wildlife, not only for the future, but also realizing the benefits of having wildlife and encouraging tourism.
And what was the average house size then?
When I was growing up, everyone lived in a house. I did not understand what a flat was. I lived in a house with land surrounding us. And because we had a lot of land, my grandparents and my parents were very much self-sufficient food-wise. We grew our own fruit, vegetables. The only thing we had to buy were pulses.
And what's it like now?
One of the things I have noticed, especially during my last visit in 2012, was that a lot of people are now living in flats, including my close friend. The concept of living in a big house is changing. Land is becoming more expensive, and people are now living in flats, especially those who are now newly coming to Livingstone and who cannot afford to buy a house.
And were there many job opportunities available when you were a child?
When I was growing up, my parents had their own business. It was a family business with my grandparents and my uncles all working in it. They started off with a small shop and then built a factory, and we did mainly manufacturing of clothes, which included uniforms, casual wear and overalls. Over the years, what has happened is that because of cheap imports, the local industry has died, and as a result of which job opportunities are not so large as they were previously. There has been a shift in the job market in that there is more emphasis in people working in the service industries such as hotels and tourism. Tourism is one of the biggest industry now in Livingston.
Has there been much developmental change?
There's been a lot of development change, especially not with the growth in population. The need for housing is very, very important and pressing, and as a result of which, what I now find is that people are now living in flats as opposed to houses. The local industry has died, and those buildings are either standing derelict or are being used for alternative uses.
How has the roads changed?
The roads have changed in that, funny enough, when I was growing up, I didn't know what traffic lights looked like until I first went to Lusaka as a child, which is the capital city, and it's in what I believe the central province of Zambia. And when I first saw the abundance of traffic lights when I came to London, I was quite pleasantly surprised when I saw traffic lights when I went in Livingston in 2012. In the whole town, there are now 2 sets of traffic lights.
Were there many tourist attractions available?
Tourism has been a very big part of life in Livingston. It was big when I was growing up, and it is even more important now when I went back in 2012.
How did you feel about living next to one of the 7 wonders of the world?
To be perfectly honest, I did not appreciate that Victoria Falls was one of the 7 wonders of the world. We used to go and see the falls every week almost when I was growing up. It was only when I came to this country and I looked into it in more detail that I realised that it is one of the 7 wonders of the world. And the full importance of it, I think, only came to light when I went in 2012, and I took my daughter to see the falls, and she turned around on a number of occasions. She said, "Dad, I can't believe you were brought up in a place as beautiful as this."
In what way, when you look back, is the lifestyle different?
When I was growing up, life was very easy. Well, I think it was easy. I saw my parents used to come home for lunch. My mum didn't go out to work, and they used to have an afternoon siesta before they went back to work again. But now when I was there, especially in 2012, when I was talking to my very close friend, Ashok Surati, he was saying to me that he now leaves home at 8 o'clock, takes a packed lunch, and doesn't come home till 6. So there's not much difference between working there or working in London.
Would you like to go back and live there permanently?
I've been here for 43 years now. I've made my life in this country. So I don't think I'd like to go back. I'd like to go back for a holiday, visiting friends and family. But my life is in this country because my children are born here and I belong here now.